Welcome to Civic Entertainment Gossip Television. I am your host of the day, Elizabeth Onukwa, and today we have Honorable Tony Kalu, who is the SA to the current governor of Abia State, Dr. Isee-cvic. Welcome, sir. Thank you for your time today. And today we will be covering the upcoming presidential elections in Nigeria and overall politics. So, as we all know, the current president of Nigeria is running for re-election,
Yes.
and he is running under the APC party.
Yes.
We are all aware of that. And as a majority of us know, he is also 75 years old,
That's true.
and his health is not in the best condition, which worries people that if he is indeed to be re-elected, would he perform?
That's true.
Okay? And then our second presidential candidate is ATIKU Abubakar, who was the former vice president in Nigeria.
Sure.
He was under APC, but now is part of PDP. He is also 71 years old and is known for, he was accused for corruption, but we don't know if it's true or not. So my first question to you is, why are these men still being considered to be elected?
Actually, that's a very valid question. First of all, thank you for having me. I thank the IC magazines.
Yeah.
The truth is, the state of Nigerian politics is always evolving. And whenever there is election, elections are always about change. And this is also one of those times when Nigeria is at another crossroad, which is another election. Now, the question is, are we going to be having an election of change, or are we going to be having an election whereby the status quo remains? Now, the concerns that you brought up, which is the health and the age of the current president, is an issue. It has always been. For me, 4 years ago, I knew that was an issue. How did I know? You look at a man who's been around like forever. And this was at a time when you had President Obama in the office. This was in 2015. You also had people like, after 2015, you had the leader of France, the young dude, Macron,
Yes,
coming up. So I was wondering, what actually would that room look like if we were to have Obama and you have the president of France and Major General BUHARI in the same room without aides, and they need to conversate about the state of politics, the state of the world, safety, even the internet, and so on and so forth. What much can BUHARI really on his own bring to the table in a conversation like this? I believe he will be lost because he probably will not even know what to say, or wouldn't have much to contribute in the face of these two guys. And these are all world leaders. And Nigeria is respected as much as France is respected. So I feel like we have been making political decisions when it comes to electing our leaders based on sentiment, based on who we think has enough money or who we think has been known enough. There are several candidates, fine ones. I don't want to start promoting anybody right now, but the truth is that at the end of the day, all we have left is ATIKU Abubakar, who was a former vice president, and Major General BUHARI. The rest will just fall by the wayside. You might not even hear their names.
Yes.
But these are also viable candidates. So having said that, the election is coming up. The election will take place, I believe, on the 16th, which is the next week, Saturday. Personally, I will be on ground by God's grace to be part of this. I will also work for my party. In the interest of full disclosure, I'm a PDP member.
Okay.
So I don't want to have that get lost in the mist.
Yes.
But,
that leads up to my second question.
Okay.
So you mentioned that there are other candidates
Yes.
that are, that are qualified.
Yes.
So we do know, for most people that are into Nigerian politics, there are younger candidates that are running for the presidential seat.
Sure.
They're younger and they have cleaner records. So why aren't they getting enough attention as they should be if Nigeria is seeking change?
That's a good question. The truth is, we have this level of poverty in Nigeria, and we are not supposed to be as poor as we really are. You have this economic imbalance. So whenever there is election, people, the first thing they think about is, what do I get? It's not what do I get in the sense of what would this person do for the entire country, or where would this person be leading the country to? It's about, they call it back up, stomach infrastructure.
Okay.
How much money is this guy going to put in my pocket? And these new candidates, or these younger candidates we're talking about, does not have that kind of financial war chest to be able to provide and cover the entire, 36 states with money. So all they have is their word, their promises, and their manifesto, which 70% of the people will not even care enough to read the manifesto, let alone consider them. So finance is usually the problem. So it's about the political structure and the finance to be able to make it work. And these guys, you keep hearing their name coming back over and over.
Right,
are
because
the
it's like
ones
recycled
that have the
leaders
money
or
to do so.
godfathers. But if Nigeria is seeking change, they have to give people or give opportunities to newer things, newer people. If you're seeking that change, because where's our country now? We've had the same leaders over and over. They've made promises. A lot of them have had failed promises. So why can't we as a people rise up and elect someone totally different to see what direction they'll take the country into?
Okay, this is what I personally believe. Yes, we may have these two candidates, as the top tier for now. This very election will shake the ground in Nigeria. I hope for good. At the end of this election, things will change one way or another. And I'm going to tell you what I think may be the dynamics. The election will take place with the help of social media. We will be able to get direct and raw results from localities, states, local governments. By so doing, people may be able to tabulate what they think the actual results could be. Like in the U.S., we have what we call our exit polling and so on and so forth.
Yes.
So before the official result comes out, people kind of like have an idea where the projection will go. That may happen in Nigeria this time with the help of social media. Now, this is the problem with that. When that happens, if ATIKU were to win the election, people will start jubilating, people will start announcing, calling him president already. The question is, will the powers that be, will the incumbent president be willing to concede? Will he feel enough pressure to concede the election? And if he doesn't, then what happens? Does that mean we're looking at a repeat of June 12th, which was when Moshood Abiola won election last time, and Babangida refused to grant him the victory, and it turned the country into a very chaotic state. Hundreds were killed. I just hope we're not going to have a repetition of June 12th, because if that happens, I think with such revolution, then these kind of people we're talking about, the real people that qualified, never had the chance, may be able to begin to say, you know what, election or politics is not just something you want to have as a title, it's actually our responsibility. It's a belief. I don't like the way things are. What can I do to have things the way they ought to be? And then maybe from there we'll be able to move forward.
Okay, so as we're out of time, I have one major important question for you.
Sure.
How can Nigerians in diaspora participate and support the government in developing Nigeria?
A very valid question. The truth is, usually when it comes to election, before, the politicians back home never gave the Nigerians in diaspora much of a regard with regards to believing they can actually influence the election one way or another. They will come here, campaign, feel good, have themselves known, and that's it, only for publicity. But now, the ones in diaspora are beginning to make inroads. They are beginning to insert themselves into the local politics like I did. I was not going to stand from afar and make contributions and mouth off. I wanted to put my money where my mouth is, and I went home, I became a part of it. That's one way of doing it. Okay. Another way of doing it is, we do send a lot of money from here to our folks back home, our brothers and relatives. That money can be a force for influence. Tell them the people you support, the people you pay their school fees, the people you enable to sustain. Tell them exactly what your political view is, what you would like for them to do. By so doing, it might alleviate your own problem, because if the nation is actually doing well economically, you might not need to send that much money back home.
That's true.
People may become, financially sufficient on their own without a help expecting you to help them. So why don't you then make a suggestion? Nudge them. It's your choice, whichever party you believe, but let your belief be felt at home.
Right. Well, thank you so much. And you are watching Civic Entertainment Gossip Television, and I'm Elizabeth Onukwa. Thank you so much, Honorable Tony Kalu, for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
It's kinda like a little sister.